Hello, travelers, and welcome back to Morrowind. It has definitely been a while. And just a little note, if this sounds a bit like a voiceover, that's because it totally is. I went to start editing this footage and realized that I did not have my mic plugged in for the entire recording. So I'm going to do my best to voice over like I did when I actually filmed it the first time. Yeah, pretty disheartening and just kind of shows the state of how my start to the new year is going. It's been a bit of a rough start with the area that I live in experiencing some historic flooding. I was lucky enough to not deal with any property damage and like that kind of extreme flooding of my home, at least where I live specifically. But a lot of the people that live farther into town in the area that I live of Western Washington did experience that, unfortunately, and had to be rescued, had to watch their cars float away. So yeah, kind of a rough start, and then kind of having some dental problems and getting sick on top of it. Yeah, sorry, probably not the most positive start to the week or to the episode, but just figured I'd kind of let you guys know why it's been so many weeks without a new episode. I've just been dealing with a lot of stuff and not feeling 100% back up to snuff this week, but I just really felt like filming, and it kind of bums me out that I'm having to redo the audio again, but what can you do? Alright, so what are we doing today? Today we are killing this guy, this Taurus Saren of Saren Manor in the Redoran Plaza canton thing of Vivek. And so it's kind of hard to do this voiceover thing and knowing what I did, since I literally just filmed this. I believe here I'm just commentating on, trying to sort through what I'm going to do here. I may end up having to edit down some of this stuff. I've been trying to go for a more of a flow to the playthrough instead of chopping things up, and talking more instead, or rather just not chopping out all the places where I'm talking. But this episode may have to be a little bit more choppy. But anyway, I think the thought process that I'm having here is trying to decide if I should use my conjurables and then what I should use alongside them, and wondering if anything's going to try to come after me once I start attacking him. I think what I settled on was, see, and I can't see because I edit this on a pretty small laptop screen, but I think I used either a frost ball or shock ball. Looks like a frost or a shock ball. And ended up having the entire manor trying to attack me, which I thought was interesting because in the last rip that I did with one of the Halalu people, nobody batted an eye. Nobody tried to do anything. So I find it interesting that these guys actually tried to do something. And if I remember correctly, what I ended up doing was summoning both a skeletal minion and my ancestor guardian or ancestor ghost, because this would have went well, but this lady just kept getting in the way, and I just kept hitting her instead, and I was worried that that was going to, you know, mess things up with the quest, because my writ is for him, not the others, and they ended up killing me anyway. So on that second go around, I decided to conjure 2 minions, thinking that that would help, and decided that the shock ball was pretty effective against him. And here we are in the thick of the battle. I did decide to go with the, I think it's Bone Walker is what the skeleton is called, and my ancestral ghost. And they almost weren't even needed because the shock ball was pretty much the most effective. But unfortunately, the everybody else still wanted to fight me even after I killed this guy. And I ended up having to double check my journal to see what it said, if there was any commentary. And I noticed that it said that nobody dared to report what I had done. And at the time, I didn't make the connection that that actually meant that they didn't report, so I didn't actually have a bounty. Decided to take this guy's clothes. Was really weirded out by the type of underwear he had, because I thought everybody in Morrowind just had the diapers. I don't remember seeing anyone with underwear like that before. I noticed that this lady ended up dead anyway. But I didn't have a bounty. And I hadn't made the connection with the fact that for some reason they had decided to not report anything. Which I think is kind of strange. Like, does that mean that they were just so intimidated by me that they didn't? Or is that common to happen with doing the Morag Tong stuff? But anyway, this is where I noticed that I didn't have a bounty.
If you're here for trouble,
And I think started putting 2 and 2 together. I decided to have a bit of a look around. I think I ended up killing one more guy in here, the guy that was kind of stuck in the door. Because the guards and everybody just doesn't seem to care. And next, I ended up recalling back to the Morag Tong headquarters here in Vivek. And I did decide to change my, I keep wanting to call it a spawn point, my mark and recall point, because I plan to keep doing more and more of the Morag Tong quests and hopefully being able to just work through all of them until there are no more of them. I don't really know how the Morag Tong ends, you know, if you end with being like the leader or how that works exactly, but I want to stick with just that quest line instead of bouncing around between the Mages Guild, House Lalu, and the Morag Tong. And so I decided it made the most sense to keep my mark and recall point here. And since it is a little bit hard to find, I got really lucky finding it somewhat easily the first time, and every time I have to find it after that, I struggle. I know that it's somewhere like one of the, you look for a door in the canal works, it takes you to the storage room and all that, but finding like just the right door for some reason is really difficult for me. And anyway, so I decided to turn in that one writ and got 500 gold for it. And I'm now plotting how to do the second writ, where we have to go to Telarune. And I'll probably cut out the actual footage of me doing it, and I'll just explain it while I'm doing whatever I'm doing here. But I ended up taking, I think I took a boat from Vivek to Sadrith Mora, and then was trying to take another boat from Sadrith Mora to Telarune, or at least that was my thought process. I feel like there was some other place in between. Oh yeah, it was Tel Brenora. I went from Vivek to Tel Brenora, and then Tel Brenora to Sadrith Mora. Since Sadrith Mora appears to be the town closest to Telarune, I was figuring that that's where I'd be able to take a boat to Telarune from. But it turned out you can't take a boat to Telarune from Sadrith Mora. So I'm not exactly sure where the journal would be referring for you to go take a boat to Telarune, but I discovered you can't necessarily do that, and instead I ended up reloading to a save before I did that expensive fast travel with the boats, and used the Vivek Mages Guild to travel to Wolverine Hall, which I think is what I'll cut to now. But yeah, here we are now. I bought a few spells while I was in that Mages Guild. Don't remember exactly which all ones I bought. I know somewhere along the line I bought a slow fall spell. And I also bought I think, Frenzy Humanoid. I don't remember exactly which degree that I bought. I think I went with a somewhat strong one, not the strongest, but a moderately strong one to try it out, because I'm curious if, or at least at the beginning of the video, I was curious if Morrowind has any kind of commanding type spells like Skyrim does, like how you can calm and frenzy, and well, I at least now know that you can frenzy, although I don't know exactly how it works in Morrowind, if it works the same way as it does in Skyrim, but I figured that'd be kind of fun to play around with. So I think in Skyrim, my most favorite mage build of all time was one that used a lot of, not so much the frenzy stuff, but the calming. I think it was that illusion or alteration. But a combination of those two schools was my favorite playstyle in Skyrim. A more non-confrontational and invisibility type mage build. And I may not go completely that direction with this character, but incorporate some of those elements. I think I want to go with mostly conjuration with this character, and then using elemental destruction type magic, like either Frost or Shock, while my minions deal with enemies. But if I can find some different commanding spells, that could be fun. Right now, I'm admiring the beauty of this mushroom place. I really do enjoy, I think especially the Telvanni towns seem to be the ones that are the most shroomy, I guess you could say. I feel like this area, the Sadrith Mora area, with the way the sun plays off the water and stuff, is just one of the prettiest areas that I've found. I remember thinking that the last time I was here for whatever reason. And here I am discovering again that for some reason you can't travel to Telarune from Sadrith Mora. I don't know if maybe there's some other ship that could take you, although this guy does say he is the ship master, so I assumed he is the only, or at least the main ship transportation in this area. So what I ended up deciding is that I would just walk to Teleroon, walk/swim from here, since we have to walk once we get to Teleroon to the whatever other small town I assume that this person that we're looking for is in. So in the next episode, that's what we'll focus on, and hopefully I will remember to plug my microphone in. And we ended with some reading, which I will do my best to copy right now. At least reading is not, I don't think is difficult. But reading the Yellow Book of Great House Halalu, and I figured that would be fun to do, though even though we're not working on House Halalu right now, it is a faction that I'm in, so I thought it would be useful. And I noticed that the first few pages are just a lot of the names of people in House Halalu, which is definitely helpful, but maybe not relevant to just read out loud. And I believe this is where I started reading, so we have Council Affairs of Note, King Halalu Athen Lathan, High Counselor and Lord of Morrowind, grants relief to merchants complaining of high tariffs on imported alcoholic beverages. The council is pleased to report a reduction in the incidence of theft and violent crime in the Halalu House districts, thanks to the vigilance of the legions and stern sentences by the magistrates. The council laments the unfortunate disturbances of the public peace resulting from the increasingly aggressive competition between the Thieves Guild and the Morag Tong for control of the black markets. A minor tax revolt in Balmora was suppressed without undue harm to life and property. The council sent deputations to the Duke to express their concerns over the high tax rates and the injurious effect of high tariffs on trade. Now, I do remember that in the original recording of this, I had done some commentary on thinking about the Thieves Guild and the Morag Tong. And I don't remember exactly what all I said, but I think what I was getting at is that I've spent more time thinking about how being in the Morag Tong is going to affect my reputation with the great houses, especially with the great house that I'm in, House Halalu. Because originally when I joined, I figured that that wouldn't be problematic, considering, unlike the Dark Brotherhood, the Morag Tong is approved by the government, and it's just acceptable in Morrowind to use the Morag Tong to prevent all-out war and just, I guess, deal with your problems in that way of killing people and paying for it and paying people that are specialized in it to do it, instead of this kind of sneaky behind your back kind of vibe that the Dark Brotherhood has. But that doesn't necessarily mean that a great house is going to want someone that is part of the Morag Tong high in their ranks. In fact, when I think about that, that actually seems kind of counterintuitive. Like, somebody that's in the Morag Tong would need to be neutral, not belonging to any of the great houses. But I don't know, when you think about House Halalu, maybe they are the types that would play a little unfairly like that. I just kind of get that vibe from them, that they are a little bit more shady, and that I think the reason I was compelled to join them over the other factions like House Tavani is, for one, I thought that for some reason House Halalu was a little bit more down with the Legion and the Empire compared to the other great houses, which may or may not be true. I haven't done enough of the House Halalu quests to really feel that out or not. But it was their obsession with kind of using their speech skill and money, kind of that, like, I don't know, persuasion way to get things done that attracted me to them. Because when I built this character, I had decided to go with more of a speechcraft idea, but then mage at the same time, which in hindsight, probably not the best combination, but that is why I ended up picking the lady as my sign as opposed to like the Antronach or something that would have been better for magic. But anyway, it looks like this is where I ended it in the recording, so hopefully I pieced together enough of all that to make sense, and hopefully next time I will remember to plug my mic in. But I know this is kind of a short one, especially after several weeks of not having a video, but anyway, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you're all having a great start to the new year.